This episode is presented by Wild CBD. Wild produces the best tasting edibles on the market using real fruit and all-natural flavoring. With flavors inspired by the Pacific Northwest, high-quality ingredients, real fruit, and consistent dosing. Wild has become one of the leading cannabis edible products in the country. Wild's new infused gummies in blackberry, huckleberry, lemon, raspberry, and CBD-infused sparkling water in raspberry, lemon, blackberry, and blood orange. Each gummy is dosed with 25 milligrams of CBD and can be purchased in a bottle of 10 or 20. Wild CBD is offering our listeners 30% off their next purchase from wildcbd.com. Wild spelled W-Y-L-D, CBD.com. By using the code POD, that's code POD for 30% off your next purchase. Wild CBD products are intended for use by individuals aged 18 and older. Wild CBD products should only be consumed as directed on the label and should not be used if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. All Wild CBD products are made with ingredients containing 0% THC. Consult with your health professional prior to using Wild CBD in combination with any medications or other dietary supplements.
Hello and welcome to the Infectious Group Podcast, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Recorded at the 33 1/3 Music Appreciation Center in Speakeasy, located just outside of Detroit, Michigan. The Infectious Group Podcast is your source for jammy jams, music news, and the best in-depth music discussion. Thanks for joining us. Now here are your hosts.
Hey, yay. It is Russ and Kyle and Michelle, and we are here with the Infectious Groove Podcast. How are you guys doing?
Oh, you know.
Solid.
Well, I'm good.
Solid. Also, I depend on certain things from you in life, and I specifically opened the show with that sound. Because I wanted you to say...
You didn't give me a... Okay, do it again. No. You didn't give me a chance.
Do you think that...
weed every day.
I was going to say, do you think that's how Dre and Nate Dogg got down in the studio? Do you think there's an outtake of Dre being like, okay, no, do it again? Nope.
I wasn't ready.
Anyways, we have with us CJ from the PodAskew show and also fellow member of the Odd Pods Network. How's things going, CJ?
Good, man. What's going on with you guys?
Well, we're over here listening to Michelle complain about the thing that happens every year at this time. The climate gets colder.
And the sun goes down early.
At least 30 or so years into it, Michelle is not used to it yet. Have you got used to it, CJ? Do you understand that every year the exact same thing happens with the weather?
I understand it, and then I fucking hate it every time.
See?
Here's the thing. I'm making plans to move to the Southwest where it doesn't happen. So I'm okay with that. I'm on my way out of that climate, but you live in like the second coldest city in the country, or like third, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yep. Generally, what I do for my weather service all winter is I watch our friend that lives in Minneapolis, Pat Riley.
Yes.
I watch his Facebook page, and then 2 or 3 days later, I expect about 5 degrees higher than whatever he's complaining about, or however much snow he says he got. Yeah. Then about 2 or 3 days later, I'm like, all right, we're going to get about 3 inches less than that. So.
Don't even say the S word.
Oh, yeah. So my bad. So, anyways, we have CJ, who is even further east than us. He's over in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
He is doing his show from there, and they talk about pretty much everything on your show.
Well, movies and pop culture, primarily movies, but we do branch out into pop culture, and every so often I can get Rico to talk music, which is thank God for you guys, because now I can actually start talking.
That was one of the things when he first found out show was like, I'm so excited that like I have a music, I can flex the music muscle now and like, listen to that.
Awesome.
Yeah, whether you guys join the network or not, at least I got a friend in Russ that I can be like, hey dude, check out this album, or that bullshit you talked about on your episode, you're out of your mind,
Russ loves that.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and derail us early and tell you this. CJ's real upset that you think that the Black Album is old Metallica, because it is not old Metallica. The reason why I'm bringing this up is he brings it up to me in private at least 3 times a week. Like ever since you said it on the show, and I'm like, well, that's what Kyle thinks. Like, I don't think that, but that's what Kyle thinks. And then he actually, in his defense, said to me, like, can I bring it up on Saturday? And I was like, no, like, don't do that.
And now we're what, 2 minutes?
We are 3 minutes and 42 seconds into the episode.
And you just couldn't let it go.
I couldn't hold it inside.
I'm just glad it's not me this time.
It's the newest good Metallica.
See, no. Okay, you know what? Hold on. You two find each other on Twitter because between the three of us, we're not even remotely on the same page, because he likes Death Magnetic. I know.
No.
You know. Anyways, so
I'm gonna go take a nap.
Yeah.
To be fair, I am following both of you on Twitter. I'm certain you're not following me back, but I do have both of you on my follow list, so you can combine me.
There's a whole thing about these two on Twitter. We had a gentleman on from the UK who's like our biggest fan, and he was like, "I sent you guys DMs a week ago."
Dude, he did not DM me.
Oh well.
He DM'd the other Kyle.
There's some other Kyle in the US that's like, who the hell? Why is this guy from the UK? Think I want to talk to him
He
about
did
music.
DM me, but to be fair, I haven't used Twitter in like 5 years, so I'm really behind.
Did you see the whole thing you got tagged in the other day about the Beastie Boys?
Yes.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I didn't leave a gift back?
You did not.
Oh,
no.
shit. I replied to somebody else with a gift.
She replied to Will. From the UK. Will wakes up and looks at his phone. Oh, sabotage. What the hell? So
It's on my to-do list.
anyways, after all of that big mess, which was at least a minute and a half was my fault, we have CJ on with us because he is going to partake in our usual stuff. We're going to get him involved in our roundtable discussion and music news, which we have a couple of spicy topics to discuss as far as music news goes. CJ will be sharing his Jammy Jams with us, and then our main topic of discussion this week is going to be the Seattle Sound, which I think we're going to establish right off the bat is I think what we're referring to when we say the Seattle Sound is grunge, because that's pretty much how history looks back on, quote, the Seattle Sound.
Yeah.
We'll give a couple honorable mentions at the beginning of the
Not
discussion.
the sound?
What are you talking about?
Oh boy. That was,
Hey.
no, that was just a really
That was a dad joke. Sorry.
bad dad joke.
Okay. And also, second prompt. Second time that you got the Nate Dogg prompt and fell down.
All right,
Wow.
let's get this
Holy
back
cow.
on track.
Fantastic. If you are listening to this episode on Monday, hopefully you listened to PodAskew's latest episode before, or if you haven't, then listen directly after this one, because I was just on CJ's program. We recorded last week talking about the two of our favorite top 5 artists, and it got lengthy but fun, and I think it'll be pretty interesting. There was a whole lot of stuff that, like, he would ask me a random question and I would answer him. He'd go, oh, nobody ever gives that answer. And then I would ask him a question and he would answer, and we'd be like, okay, now we're going to fight. You know, like, so, you know, but it was fun. You know, if you,
Well, it's a good thing that I showed up today.
it's one of those things about the dynamic of this show that I've talked about with people before, where, like, I don't want this show to be me going, this song's great, and you two going, you know,
Right,
and then,
yeah.
or you going, oh, don't you love that album? Yup. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, well, tune in next week when we all agree on this. You know. So that way we thought it's funny. CJ was planning to come on this program with the release date of next Monday all along, and then it just so worked out that I was going on his show. So we're having this whole big crossover event.
It's like Grey's Anatomy.
Totally. Yeah. It's a crossover event. Or however they do that. Voice.
I crossover. I go the CW Arrowverse. She said crossover and goes right to Grey's Anatomy. I think very interesting, like, dynamic switch right there. But that's,
Yeah, well,
you know.
she's ruined this week's Grey's Anatomy twice for an entire group conversation.
I didn't even ruin it.
So yeah, you absolutely did ruin it.
I didn't tell you how it
you
happens.
ruined it, and then you tried to tell people how it was the thing happens that you ruined. Anyways, tune into Michelle's separate podcast. People die all the time, and impossible things happen on a terrible medical show.
In Seattle. Hello, bringing it full circle.
In Seattle. Anyways, the reason why I bring up the exciting crossover event is because this whole week we got all sorts of cool things going on. The big promised sticker giveaway is coming this week. So if you're hearing this episode on Monday, watch our social media this week. Starting, I think, on Tuesday or so, I'm going to put out the exact details. Every single time I've done a teaser tweet, like, hey, we're going to give some of these stickers away soon. People lose their mind. And we've already had some people figure out, which is weird, how we're going to do it and send us, like, their address in different ways.
I
which
saw an
is
email
interesting.
come in. Now that I've had the email on my phone now, I was like, why are they? Oh, stickers. I was like, is Russ having a booty call?
That's really neither here nor there. So anyways, let's get into some of the hot topics. That is, you know what? We'll do it backwards. I don't care. We'll do our Jammy Jams first. I hit the wrong button, and
That's fine,
I don't even care.
We're mixing it up.
So for me, I'm doing that thing where I had a couple of songs fly into my head this week, and then I was like, I haven't listened to those in so long, and now I'm going to listen to them 100 times this week. One is the Monkees have this jam that like most people don't know. Like when people think of the Monkees, they think I'm a Believer, Last Train to Clarksville, Daydream Believer, which are great songs. But the Monkees have this jam that came out later in their career when they were actually a band, like after the TV show and everything, and they evolved into a real band.
That's when they became a real band?
Yeah, and because they were created for the TV show, and then the TV show ran 3 seasons, and once the TV show was over, they were like, well, what if we just become like a real band now? And they became
Did they know how to play instruments on the TV show?
They learned them. Well, so I think 2 of them knew how to knew music. I think Mike Nesmith and Peter Tork did, and then the other 2 learned for the show and whatnot. It's some version of that.
I was just gonna say, Russ, I'd actually heard that they were formed to be like the anti-Beatles. It was to to prove to people that like the Beatles were nothing special, that anyone could throw 4 people together and they could play instruments and become as popular as the Beatles. Now, the Monkees certainly did not become as popular as the Beatles, but that was the idea of forming the Monkees in the first place. So
for sure. And then later on, when they became quote unquote a real band, like they put out some trippy concept records. They have a whole movie called Head that is like makes the Magical Mystery Tour look like it's not a drug movie. And anyways, what I'm getting all this, they have this jam called Steppin' Stone. Sometimes it's called I'm Not Your Steppin' Stone.
I know that song.
Yeah, and it's been sampled a ton, and like no one knows that it's a Monkey song because it doesn't sound all happy-go-lucky. And we've been watching The Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's good. And there's a part in the show where they were using songs like that, and I said to Stacey, I was like, man, this would be a perfect drop for Steppin' Stone by the Monkees, but nobody knows that song. And literally in the next scene, they used Steppin' Stone by the Monkees. And I was like, well, out of respect for my wife's not care whatsoever about my music and stuff, I'm going to go ahead and not tell her this whole story. So when she listens to this episode, she'll hear the whole story.
She'll get it now.
About the Monkees and everything. That, and then actually this came out of my conversation with CJ the other night. I don't want to say I forgot, but I just don't think about it very often. What a badass cover Seether did of Careless Whisper by Wham.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we used to cover it, for crying out loud. My band used to. Maybe you were in bed by then.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Michelle is I used to be in a cover band, and Michelle went to literally every single show we ever did, and she would be gone by like 10:30. We would play till 2 a.m. every time, and she would be there until
this is in my prime too. I was like 21, and I was like, peace out.
Yeah, she was like in between the first and second set, she'd be like, I'm gonna go. I would be like, we do all these other songs like later in the night, but anyway. They did a badass cover of Careless Whisper by Wham. And and it's just a great, like, it's pretty straightforward. Like if you've heard Seether and you've heard Careless Whisper and you haven't heard this cover, it sounds like what you think it's going to sound like. I don't
see there, I think.
It was like when Rob Zombie or White Zombie did Children of the Grave by Black Sabbath. Like before you hear it, you're like, I know what this is going to sound like. And then it sounds exactly like you would think it would. But those 2, I've just been like, well, now I have to listen to them 400 times in a row this week. You know how I do that.
I do know.
So those have been my Jamie Jams. Kyle, what have your Jamie Jams been?
Chris Stapleton put out a new record called Starting Over.
Right on.
And it's fantastic. So everyone knows him for, the big, huge songs that he's put out.
For sure.
And he's a country artist, but this album is like much more soulful than I would think of like your average like country album.
I like that.
And I did hear that he normally can write an album and or write a song in like 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. But this one took like a lot longer because he got like way like deeper into it, which is why it sounds so much more soulful, I think. Yeah.
This totally, I'm so sorry to sidebar, but this reminds me, Sturgill Simpson got savage on Instagram the other night.
Oh boy.
He has a long-standing history of just hating everything to do with the CMAs. It was the time he was busking outside the CMAs. So yet again this year he wasn't involved at all in the CMAs. So he put up this 2-slide Instagram post, and one of them is him looking like he's falling asleep with the CMAs on and the TV behind him, and just this paragraph about like what pieces of crap everybody on the show is. And then there was a sentence that was like, by the way, if those guitars that you're seeing look worn, it's not from them playing them, it's from them scraping off all the rebel flags and stuff. Like, it was savage. And then he said, and then it says pick 2 to prove my point. So you slide over and it's the country album charts, and it's him at number 1, and everybody on the CMAs is like 2 through 10. And the best part of the picture is he bought his own album because it says purchased at the time.
Dude, Cutting Grass is awesome. I love that album.
Well, it's the number one country record.
Yeah,
the number one country record from the artist who wasn't invited to be on the goddamn CMAs.
Is it the cow bump?
Is it the what?
Is it the cow bump?
Oh, yeah, no, we talked about that. I absolutely got the cow bump. Yeah, it's the thing that took it over Korean pop was the cow bump. Yeah. So, anyways, but if you get a chance, go back and look at Sturgill's Insta because it's just savage. It's the most savage thing he's done since he's buxed outside the CMAs and shit on the CMAs on the sidewalk. What else you been listening to?
2 Chainz also put out a new album called "So Help Me God."
Two G's?
2 G's.
I don't think we've told that story.
There's no point. Just saying 2 G's works.
I listened to that too, and I dig it. I dig anything that all of his music I dig.
Right. Kyle bringing the diversity.
Yeah.
As always, which kicks ass. Michelle, will you please improve CJ's life? And
I will.
Now, he gets to hear your Jamie Jams every year, but he's never heard them live in person.
I know.
Oh, by the way, CJ, we didn't have you sign your non-disclosure yet. So right after this, I'm going to send you an email because you will need to sign a non-disclosure saying you won't share Michelle's Jamie Jams with the world until the episode's published.
Oh, well, shit. That ruins my Saturday.
Well, no, I'll tell you what, though. You can drive up to Atlantic City and bet on him, though. Because you have the inline.
Yeah, true.
So, Michelle, will you please share your Jamie Jams?
I have 2 songs that have been stuck in my head every morning, one or the other, for the past week. Only when I get up.
Every morning by Sugar Ray.
Oh,
no,
boy.
but that's going to be stuck in my head now.
Thankfully, I leave before
I just played the 7-inch of that last night. So.
The first one is "If You Want Blood" by AC/DC, and
Good. Hatfield feels the same way about that song as I do.
Shit, I touched the button.
If You Want Blood. Which, by the way, the new AC/DC record came out this week.
Yeah.
And somebody on Twitter tweeted at us and was like, hey, did you guys listen to new AC/DC yet? And I was like, no, but a friend of mine told me it's the most AC/DC thing they ever AC/DC'd. And the person tweeted back and was like, yep.
I almost clicked on that instead of Chris Stapleton to listen to the entire album, but I did not do it.
The new Paris Jackson came out yesterday, too, and I meant to listen to that whole thing and didn't yet.
Can we tell the story again?
Yeah. So what happened was...
Is Brian Johnson singing on that?
Yeah. It's the Razor's Edge lineup, except somebody, I don't know who's playing for rhythm guitar for Malcolm Young, but it's the Razor's Edge lineup outside of that. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's going to be the Razor's Edge again, just like the last several AC/DC records were.
That's fine.
Yep. What else besides If You Want Blood?
That's just, I don't even know if that says anything about my week, but if that's how I wake up is If You Want Blood. And then Sugar by Trick Daddy.
Oh, right on. I thought you were going to say Maroon 5.
No.
So.
No. So that song, he mentioned it. Didn't you say there was like a...
Dude, they were playing the instrumental to it in an NPR segment, and I started laughing.
And so then he mentioned it, and then of course I had to go listen to it, and now every morning it's one of those 2 songs that's stuck in my head.
Cheryl and I were talking about it the other day that Kroger uses Get Low.
Yeah, for the prices.
Yeah. I'm like watching a Kroger commercial. It's like apple bottom jeans. I'm like, I don't. Either their marketing person is super duper hip or doesn't know at all. Yeah, it's
probably hip.
CJ, what are your Jamie Jams? For the first time ever, CJ's going to share his Jamie Jams.
That's so exciting.
No pressure at all, really. So the first thing I've got, now that I'm noticing I'm getting 2. I have 2 I can go to. So number 1, Russ, as you know, because I think we talked about it briefly off air, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions were last week. Mm-hmm. And so I have to kind of what Michelle's been going through where I wake up and the song's in my head. Bang It Gone, Get It On by T-Rex has been in my head. So I've listened to that probably like 24 times this week just to try to get that earworm out of my ear, and it's not working because
it's a hell of a groove.
Yeah.
No, it is, but like after you're like, 20th time, you're kind of like, I'm a little done with it.
For sure.
And then I have a metal playlist that I cycle through pretty regularly, and I'm not going to list them all off because A, you guys would hate me, and B, we'd be here forever. So, but there's one band that's featured pretty prominently on there that I actually really enjoyed that a lot of people don't know about, so I thought I would bring this one up, and it's Threat Signal. It's a Canadian death metal band. It's really, really good. I really enjoy their one album, Under Reprisal. They have several albums, but the lead singer is constantly known for changing members. Like, he will just wipe out the entire band and bring in all new people for the next album, and then he'll do it again.
There's so much to take in there. I didn't even know there was a Canadian mad enough to make a death metal crew, let alone get mad at like members and wipe out the lineup and stuff.
And that's the thing about them is like they're classified as a death metal band, but like to me it's not, because like to me death metal is, and Russ, I think we talked about this on my show, that automatic Cookie Monster vocal that I can't stand. I need vocals that at least have some kind of melodicness to them, I guess. I don't think it's a word, but whatever. You know, and you shared with me that Kyle's a huge fan of Corey Taylor, as am I, and that's the kind of like vocal that I like, where you get that he can do that growling scream, you know, in your face, fuck you, but then he can also sing. And this guy can do that. And they do a lot of like harmonies in the guitars, and it's just a great. The first album is really good, and I think it's because Christian from Fear Factory produced it, because I'm a huge fan of Fear Factory.
Yeah, Fear Factory. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and if you remember, Russ, we were doing the honorable mentions on the top fives from my episode, and that's one I actually forgot to mention when we were doing it, is Fear Factory would definitely be an honorable mention. And the only reason why they're not there is because when Dino and Cliff basically threw the middle finger up at Christian and the drummer, whose name escapes me right now, and just reformed the band. It's kind of like what the Black Crowes are doing, what the Robinsons are doing at the Black Crowes, and it's like, nah, you know what I mean?
Triggered.
Yeah.
Wait, is Fear Factory still a band?
Yes, because Christian or not Christian, but Cliff and not Cliff, Burton and Dino basically threw the finger up at Christian and again the drummer, whose name escapes me at the moment, and got two other guys, and they're still.
It's Dr. Evil quotes. They're still a band.
Yeah. Not the same band, but a band.
Correct, and they're still using the moniker, but it's not Fear Factory as we know it. But then I know people that would argue that when Dino left, you know, and they did those two albums without him, that it wasn't either. But honestly, I think they're better without Dino. That's a different story. But anyway, so yeah,
nice.
Threat Signal Under Reprisal came out on Nuclear Blast September 2005. I highly recommend you check that album out. Very, very heavy but fun.
Nice.
Album.
All right. Well, yet again, the Jamie Jams have run the gauntlet of tons of different things to listen to, and you can always listen to our Spotify playlist where you're going to hear all that stuff that we always suggest, and then this week we'll add in the stuff that CJ was listening to, and you can find all that on our Spotify playlist. We advertise it on our social media regularly. So I did this backwards, but let's move on.
Music news.
And this week's music news is brought to you by manscaped.com, where you can use our code IGP20 and get 20% off along with free shipping. And just so I know, Michelle, how's Kyle's smoothness? Since
It's pretty great.
Is it pretty great?
It's pretty great.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say Kyle's smoothness before he used the Lawnmower 3.0? What were we looking at a 1
What
to
is
10?
a 1 and what is a 10?
Like, would you want me to put it in music terms?
Sure.
Let's see. A 1 for you would be like most of David Gray's material. And a 10 for you would be most of the Lone Bellows material. So what would you say Kyle's smoothness was with the Lawnmower 3.0 and its sweet LED light and 7,200 RPM motor?
So before
the Landscape 3.0, like way back in the Stone Ages, before Kyle was smart enough to have a Lawnmower 3.0 from Manscaped.com.
I mean, like, it was like a solid 4.
It was a solid 4.
Yeah.
What are we looking at now?
It's like Lone Bellow.
Okay, so it's like
Lone Bellow down
if the
there.
Lone Bellow and Mumford & Sons had a baby,
Yes.
it would be
Kyle's testicles.
It would be testicles.
It's because of the ball lotion, honestly.
If you want to be like Kyle. If you want to be like Kyle and you want to be like the direct descendant of the Mumford & Sons and Lone Bellow, go to manscaped.com. Use our code IGP20. That is IGP20 at manscaped.com. Get 20% off plus free shipping, brought to you by the Infectious Group Podcast, Manscaped, and our wonderful network, the Odd Pods Network. Having said all of that, we're going to have to do a Casey Kasem transition into a goddamn death dedication. But what is the first piece of music news that you have?
I always hate when we have to do, or like when talk about stuff like this, but as many people have heard by now, there was an up-and-coming rapper named King Von who was murdered in Atlanta a few days ago.
This is so cliche to say this, but like the more I read these, the more I'm just like, I literally, while I'm holding my phone, all I can do is shake my head and just be like, what the hell? Like,
I think he was 24, 26,
God
somewhere in there.
damn.
He has 2 kids. Now they
and
have no dad.
I don't say this to be funny at all, but like rappers are quickly rewriting the 27 Club.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, no, we're going to lower that bar. Like, it is insane to me.
And you can go and look up you just type in his name into Google, and you can find out all the stuff that he was involved in. It eventually caught up with him.
So we discussed this earlier, and we both were like, well, we're going to kind of mention it briefly, which I kind of felt bad about, but I feel like this is going to be an ongoing thing that we're going to have more to discuss. Like, I think there's going to be more coming up that gets uncovered.
I did just read a little while ago that they supposedly caught the guy who... So there was 4 people who were murdered all at once, I think, and he was one of them, and his manager got shot at the same time, all outside of this after-hours club in Atlanta. But they supposedly have caught the shooter now, I guess. I don't know. But that's the latest thing that I've read.
That was when proof passed. I heard it was like after hours club. We think we found the shooter, and then nothing after that.
Everyone was confused because they were at this like very prominent nightclub in Atlanta, and everyone thought that the security footage that everyone's been watching was from that club. Right. And I watched a whole interview with his manager, and his manager was like, "No, man, we were at an after hours place, not where everyone was thinking this was happening." And then that's when it all unfolded.
That's unfortunate. Yeah. So I do believe more information is going to come out on this, and we'll follow up on it as it does.
It sucks either way.
What was the big news this week?
Well, people are having a real problem with how Live Nation wants to do concerts now.
Yeah. So
and it pains me to even start reading.
One thing I want to clarify before we talk about this, because you're never going to believe this, but on the internet I keep seeing people spread misinformation.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Okay, so people keep saying that. Yeah, CJ, I'm sorry to spring that on you, but yes, people on the internet are presenting misinformation. People are going around saying that you have to get a corona test or you have to get a vaccination in order to go to a show, and that is not what they're saying. They're saying that you have to have a test showing that you don't have the virus in order to get into a show. Okay, so that's what they're saying. We'll start with our guest, CJ. What is your immediate impression on this? Like, let me say this. Are you going to a concert under that stipulation, or are you the guy that says, okay, then I guess I'm not going to a concert till that goes away?
I'm not going to a concert till they get this thing under control and, like, basically we're all vaccinated. That's just my personal thing. I've heard you guys talking about concerts on previous episodes, and I know, Russ, like, you can't wait till they open it up, and I get that. But like, I said,
I'd go to a Creed concert if they open them. That's how desperate I am.
I almost fell out of my chair. But like, honestly, like, I don't know if you guys are, I know this is probably not what they're referring to, but like, they're doing a lot, at least in the Philadelphia area, they're doing a lot of these like drive-in concerts now where you pull your car up, they got the band's there. So it's not even like they're beaming it in from somewhere else, but you just sit in your car and you watch it. Listen, I'm fine with that as an idea, but like, first and foremost for me, and call me the dad of the group, whatever, I don't care, but like, public safety is more important. And as much as I love music, and I do, I mean, you guys can see my tattoo. I've got this, bleeding G clef on my arm, but I'm not going to put myself in harm's way to go to a concert. It's just not. So like, if I have to wait till that's over to go to a show, yeah. So as far as what Live Nation, if they're wanting, so they want you to bring your test results. Am I understanding that correctly?
Or your vaccination?
Yeah, either that or your vaccination. Yep. And my concern with it. Well, first of all, let me back up and say
it's linked to your ticket, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do understand people that are concerned, but not just what CJ's saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, let's wait till it's all over before we even do. But I do like that someone is trying to think of something to get this going.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like that. But my concern with it is the requirement is that you have to have proof of that within 72 hours of the event. Yeah. So what if between the 72-hour window, I come into contact and then I'm still allowed to go to the show?
Yeah. Which you would be. So, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a bunch of ifs, ands, or buts about it. But how are you guys about it? Like, are you just like, no, I'm just not going to a show? Or would you go along with this to go to one? Or what do you guys think?
I guess it depends. If it was like an outdoor show, like if they didn't oversell DTE and like it was outside. And I
that's one thing I have in my notes. I think this is going to, for us, the fans, I think one thing this is going to lead to is smaller venues and way higher ticket prices.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have 50% of the population is going to be like, America, I don't have to tell Ticketmaster my personal history, like, to go, right?
Yeah.
So that if you take the Foo Fighters are going to book into 20,000 seat arena for their tour, that's going to take that tour down to the 6,000 seat theaters instead, right? They're going to book into like a Fox Theater instead of Little Caesars Arena, right? Mm-hmm. And then to make up for the loss of ticket sales, the tickets are going to be $500 a piece instead of $350 a piece. And you're just going to end up, to me, this like before you worry about giving your health information to a big corporation or whatever those concerns are, I just think that this isn't going to end up well for us as fans anyways. Like, you know what I mean? That's my concern. What do you think?
I understand everyone trying to scramble to like figure something out, because it's not because Live Nation wants us to go see concerts. Well, they do, because they want money. So they're hemorrhaging money, and they're trying to scramble to figure out the best way that they think is going to work with what we're going through. And there are so many people that are so paranoid about giving out random bits of information.
Right.
If you didn't test positive, then what are you worried about giving information about? I don't understand.
I think
it's going to become, it's more trouble than what it's worth.
I think so. I think that, and the other thing I think too is you got to remember, a lot of artists haven't shared their opinions on things like vaccinations and so on. And I don't think every artist is just going to go. There's a certain cross section of artists that are just going to be like, where'd you say the money was? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? They're going to go along with whatever. But I think there's going to be a certain amount of artists that are going to be like, yeah, I can't get down with that.
I was just telling Michelle last night, the Flaming Lips are still doing bubble shows.
I want to go to a bubble show.
Yeah,
you can have 3 people in a bubble.
Yeah. So your ticket.
There's 3 of us.
Your ticket, I
You
guess.
don't even like the Flaming Lips.
I would for a bubble show.
I think your ticket.
I don't like Creed.
Your ticket admits 3 people into your bubble.
Yeah,
which
I want
is
to go on a bubble show.
Is it BYOB? Can we bring a cooler in?
Into our bubble?
Yes.
I sure hope so.
You guys hear about what happened up in Sturgis? Because
Yep.
that's the way you think of the band. Fozzy took a bunch of crap about performing up there because there ended up being like 100 people. Just, to your point, Michelle, was outdoors, which I think mitigates it a little bit, but I stress a little bit. But Fozzy took a bunch of crap on social media for that. Now, again, this is not a
fucking Chris Jericho. God damn it.
Yeah. And it's not a statement of whether or not I think the band's good or bad. It has nothing to do with that. That's the fact that should they have done the show, and I don't think they should have done. Look, I love concerts as much as you guys probably, but at the same time, like I don't think like I said, I don't think they should be doing this till we get this thing under control. First, that's me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. My big concern was, again, shocker, but with social media, there's just so many people that read like part of a headline and they're all telling other people, and it's just not what it is.
And there's too many other variables. Like, am I vaccinated? Did I get, have I had the virus?
Right.
Have I, do we still have to wear masks? Like, there's so many other things that go into it. Like, I'm not just going to say, yeah, I totally do that. But, like, I'm not against the idea of people trying to figure this out either.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, it's an evolving story, that's for sure.
But I also did read that they don't have, like, all of that's not set in stone. So people are, like, flipping out over nothing.
What a giant surprise.
Yeah, because those are just the loose...
You say this is happening on the internet?
Yeah. It's just a loose outline of what they want to have happen, not what's going to happen, not what's happening now, none of that kind of stuff.
Also, just stay home. You could just stay home instead of coming out.
Yeah, and then well, then you get into a whole other thing where people are like, "But you can't tell me what to do. I should be able to go." And what? No.
You should have to pass an IQ test to even use the internet.
So I feel like both of these stories are things we're going to revisit quite a bit. What was that, CJ?
I said, among other things, you should have to pass an IQ.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that both of these stories are things we're going to revisit.
Yes,
quite a bit in the future. That's for sure. So. I am going to take us to a quick break. When we come back, we are going to get into the whole business of the Seattle Sound. Unquestionably one of Michelle's favorite genres of all time. We'll be back in just a minute.
Here at the 500 Section Lounge, we have a few requirements. First, you need to be able to talk about anything at all. Secondly, you need to be able to laugh, play games, and hang out with some very interesting people. From sports radio personalities to reality television contest finalists and everything in between, we talk to them all right here in the lounge. Be on the lookout for what we do next and sit back, relax, and be there to grab a listen.
Once every harvest moon, a talk show comes along that is so groundbreaking, raising the bar to such heights that other podcasts step back and say, wow, that show's got it figured out. With a host, tempered in focus, commitment, and sheer will. This is The Derek Duval Show. Pop culture, news, and interviews with fascinating people that channel the great Edward R. Murrow and Walter Cronkite. The Derek Duval Show. Find him on Twitter and Instagram at Derek Duval Show, and find his new episodes every Wednesday on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Play, and Podchaser. The Derek Duval Show. The best thing to happen to Hump Day since the Geico camel. What?
Hey there, we're BFYTW Podcast. I'm Pantsless Aaron, I'm the host, and we are three silly people playing very silly games for fakey points that don't count for anything. Our permanent team captains are a veteran and a podcaster, and a veteran podcaster, it's Stevie.
Hey guys, it's Midnight Smoke here. I love being funny, goofy, and I'm here for your entertainment.
And his permanent opponent, my oldest friend and a gamer and a storyteller, it's Jorge.
Hey guys, Jorge here, HH_Empire, and I am the logical voice to this Maelstrom of Chaos sometimes.
Well, if you like silly people playing silly games, then you want to come hang out with us at BFYTW Podcast every week. That's BFYTWpodcast.com.
And we're back, and we are going to go into our main topic this week, which is going to be the Seattle Sound. Now, Seattle as a city, I think a lot of their history gets lost. Like, three enormous artists that people don't even think of as Seattle artists are Queensryche, Hendrix, and Hart. Like, those are three gigantic bands that came from Seattle. And what's funny is when grunge broke, which is what most people consider to be the Seattle sound, like, all of those artists wanted to distance themselves hugely from, like, Queensryche and Hart and everything. And then it was like somewhere in the late 90s, Jerry Cantrell decided that, like, Hart was cool again. So started to show them respect, and now, like, all the other Seattle bands are like, oh, and Hart too. You know, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Know? So for the purposes of this episode, I think we all agree, like, focusing more towards grunge is what we're going to do.
That's my favorite, yeah.
But yeah, it's Michelle's favorite. But when we get toward the end of this discussion, I think it'll be interesting to get into a little bit of, like, how history looks back on Seattle, because especially, like what I said, like, if you ask some kid in the 90s, you know, name some Seattle bands, none of them would name Hart. But if you ask a kid now, they probably would name Hart. But that's only because Jerry Cantrell decided that Hart was cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll talk. And I would just, like, Hendrix is a legend, but how many people even know he was from Seattle? I would assume that was news to you, Michelle.
There's going to be a lot of stuff in this episode that's news to me.
Sweet. All right. Let's get into it.
No, Russ,
It's time for the Infectious Groove Podcast. Main topic of discussion.
So we, and it's funny that drop ends with Smells Like Teen Spirit. CJ, I hit the drop right over what you were going to say. What were you going to say as we were going into the topic?
No, my apologies. I didn't realize the drop was coming.
All good.
You know, you were talking about Hendrix. Like, so a number of years ago, I was out in Seattle visiting some friends, and it was my first time ever being out there. And they actually, knowing the music fan that I am, and we can talk about this in detail later if you want, but they took me to what was then known as the EMP Museum. It's now known as the Museum of Pop Culture.
Yes. Oh boy, there's a whole story coming from that.
I've been there.
I got some great pictures that I still have on my phone from that whole experience. But that actually introduced me to the fact that Jimi Hendrix was from Seattle. So as much as I consider myself a music person, I was not aware that Jimmy was from Seattle. So, like, it was kind of neat to get that knowledge base from going there too. So I didn't even know it until I had gone to the museum, and I knew Jimmy for years. Like, I knew his music forever prior. For whatever it's worth, until I was like 25. I have no reason for this, but I thought Hendrix was English.
I feel like he dresses like he could be English.
Well, like, he would, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And then on top of that, like, he broke in London and whatnot. So I think I just automatically assumed. And then, like, I don't know if you've ever heard an interview with Hendrix, but he talked exactly like he sang, like that deep, like, voice, you know? And the first time I heard him talk, I was like, he's American, you know. Like.
Also, for what it's worth, I've been to that museum and I've seen the Jimi Hendrix stuff, and I still didn't put two and two together. So it's fine.
I need to share this with you real quick. When you go to Hitsville, USA,
oh boy,
all of those artists are from Detroit.
To be fair, there was Prince stuff there.
Well, to be fair. Well, that's odd.
It was the special, like,
they had a rotating Prince thing that you could go and see that travels around to all the different music museums.
Well, I'm just saying.
But the stuff that's mainly there, like the Nirvana stuff and the Pearl Jam stuff.
And the REM stuff?
Yeah. Known Seattle band. REM. By the way, if you're a regular listener to the show, and hopefully you pick up on the ridiculous amount of sarcasm, I am aware that REM is from Athens, Georgia. So when I was listing the B-52s, who are also from Georgia, and the Black Crowes, who are famously from Georgia, I was just playing into Michelle's REM Pearl Jam confusion, which it's so easy to mix those two up.
Yeah, it really is.
So
they sound just alike.
So having said that, let's dive right into this topic. So I'm going to start with you, CJ, and I feel like most people's answer to this first question is going to be the same, but we're going to walk through it anyways. What was your first exposure to grunge? Like, what was the first thing you heard and you were like, what is this? And somebody was like, oh, that's grunge. What was that for you?
Oh, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but it was Smells Like Teen Spirit. I mean, I feel like that must be almost everybody's first, at least, especially because I'm old enough to have experienced it like when it broke. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There are people that are younger than me that their first experience might be some other band, but for me, it was definitely that song. Actually, I'm wondering, Russ, the more I'm thinking about it, I don't remember if it was actually Teen Spirit or Weird Al's cover of it that I heard first.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. I bet a lot of people got exposed to Nirvana through Smells Like Nirvana.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I heard that first, to be very honest with you. But
Weird Al had a quick turnaround on that one, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, sometime in the 80s, sometimes it'd be like a year and a half, and you'd be like, oh, I remember that song. Oh, Weird Al's doing it now. It Smells Like Teen Spirit broke in like August of 91, and Weird Al was October. He was like, here it is. You know.
Well, it's not like it's a complicated song. I mean, I'm sorry. All respect to Kurt Cobain, but no, it's not like it was a switch.
Outside of like Dumb and a couple other Nirvana songs, it's not like any of them are complicated songs. And, you know, the average Nirvana fan will tell you there's a certain complexity in simplicity. You know, so there's a beauty that comes out of it. So, but yeah, I was the same way with Nirvana. The only thing that was different for me about Nirvana was how I got exposed to Nirvana was a little bit before everyone else heard of it. And my brother took me to see them in a 500-seater on the Bleach tour. So this was before Dave Grohl joined the band and before they even recorded Teen Spirit. And being as heavy into like Warrant and Skids and the super slick production that I was, we went to that show, and 30 seconds into the first song, I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. Like, how are these people being paid to play music in front of a crowd, like, at all? So I thought Nirvana was god-awful when I first heard them. But in my defense, I saw them in one of the worst venues in the history of music. And without their to me, Dave Grohl is easily a third of that sound. Of that band, of what makes Nirvana. And this was pre-Dave Grohl, but that was the first time. But I do remember my brother stopping at the record store and being like, remember that band we saw? Like, you know, their new album's out, and him running the record store, coming out with Nevermind, putting it on. And I remember, because he had an awesome sound system, I remember Dave Grohl like clearly kicking me in the back of the head with the kick drum to Teen Spirit. And I remember being like, well, they're a lot better now than they were then.
They practiced.
I still didn't think it was going to be a big deal. Like, I didn't think this was going to be like earth shaking when I first heard it. I just thought it was going to be a thing my brother heard about and like wasn't a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What were you going to say, CJ?
I'm just, listen, I consider you a friend, but I got to call you out on your math. Dave Grohl was 1/3 of a band. It's a 3-piece. No,
1/3 of their sound. A band is quite a bit, like, there's a lot more parts to their sound. Like, if you take somebody like Pearl Jam is 5 members, and Eddie Vedder is easily half their sound.
Yeah.
No, agreed. I'm really kind of disappointed. You know what my show's like. I guess your audience probably isn't as familiar, but like, that's the kind of comment that I'm like, what?
No, I'm sure there was more than a few people that was like, well, there's only 3 members. Actually, there's 4 members in Nirvana anyways. There's Pat Smear, that was on guitar in utero.
But when that album came out, there was 3.
Well, so yeah, absolutely. And then they had Dave Grohl was Nirvana's 7th drummer, by the way.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So before they had the one record come out, Bleach, but the story between them getting signed, making Bleach, and Nevermind leads through 7 drummers. So Chris and Kurt were there the whole time, and then they just went through 6 other guys before they were like, Dave. So, anyways, having said that, is it a similar story with you guys? Did you hear Nirvana first, or you guys are a little younger? Did you hear something else first?
To back up a little bit, were you talking about Blind Pig pig. That's where you saw him at.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you could fit 500 people in there.
Well, that's my guess.
not legally.
Yeah, that's my guess. Okay. I don't know.
I was just curious. I was thinking about it when you said that. I was like, oh god.
In my mind,
so
for venues, I always think like 500 for club, 6,000 for theater, 20,000 for arena. So however many people fit in the blind pig.
Gotcha.
Which again is the worst venue in the history of
Agreed.
music. So, but what was your guys' first? Did you hear Nirvana first, or was it a little later and you heard somebody else first and then went back?
I was exposed to Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and that kind of and Pearl Jam before Nirvana. Nirvana is what kind of blew my mind about the stuff coming from there.
From there,
yeah, because it was Nirvana is it was so much like I don't know, like harder and like than like Pearl Jam or something like that. And
it's interesting you bring up Soundgarden because like people forget now that Super Unknown was massive. Like,
yes.
Personally, I can't stand the record, but it was massive. Like, everywhere you went. That was like the rumors of the early 90s.
Yeah.
Like, that record had to, I don't know, have the numbers in front of me, but it had to have sold near as much as Nevermind. And that record probably turned a ton of people onto that sound.
What I really remember is how weird the Soundgarden videos were. Because I'm still big into music videos, but like...
And it used to Barbie doll.
Yeah, it used to like I'd be like, what in the hell am I watching right now? Mm-hmm. Then when I seen the Smells Like Teen Spirit video, and it was just him, they were just going crazy, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
When I first saw the Teen Spirit video on MTV was when I was like, more people know about this than my brother.
Yeah, and so no, Nirvana was not first, but it's what kept me interested in what the stuff that was coming out of
there was more to it then, because I think for all the ways that Nirvana ended, I think that Nirvana has like a more upbeat sound to it, definitely, than Alice in Chains, and more so than Soundgarden. So I could see you looking into Chains and Soundgarden and being like, all right, it's doom and gloom.
To me, that was more like kind of like stoner rock, like that kind of stuff. And then when Nirvana came out, when I found them, I was like, holy shit, like this is different.
Now, for you, Michelle, have you listened to grunge at all yet? Let me say this. What do you hope to be your first exposure to grunge?
My actual first exposure was the Smells Like Teen Spirit video on MTV. I have this recollection that it was on TRL, but I feel like it can't be.
No, it was.
It was?
Yeah, it
okay,
absolutely
like
was.
I just feel like it was too old to be like on Top Countdown, but I remember it being on there.
TRL, like every 80s rock band, all of a sudden changed. It was like, look, we're grunge too.
Yeah. So that's how I remember it. And then it was just, it's not that I hate grunge, it's just there for me.
It's just
like,
there.
So, and I liked the video and like I don't hate it, but I didn't go out and buy the record or look into any more grunge music. I was just like, okay.
The only Soundgarden record I ever rushed out to buy, and it's still my favorite Soundgarden record, is Down on the Upside with Pretty Noose and Burden in My Hand. And oh man, those are some jams.
Yeah, they are.
That one record that came out, Super Unknown, was so huge, and I truly didn't like it. It wasn't like I was like, oh, that's popular and I don't like it. I didn't like that record. And then Down on the Upside came out, and I was like, holy shit, this is what I wanted. You know?
Yeah.
But one thing I want to mention, though, was the first thing past seeing Teen Spirit on MTV, for me, the moment where I was like, like this is going to be a movement, was Pearl Jam, not Nirvana. Like when I saw the video for Alive, I was like, okay, those guys get it, and this is going to connect with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was there a moment for you, like, CJ, as soon as you heard, like, if you heard Smells Like Nirvana first, let's assume that that's how it happened, grunge would have been, I guess, in full swing by that point. Was it already a movement that you were like, oh, this is already a big thing? Or was there a band that you saw that you were like, okay, this is going to be a big thing?
No, I mean, because like I was still finding myself musically back when grunge broke. So like I wasn't as deep into it as I am now. So like Nirvana just being that popular thing was really what was in my face. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I stumbled into the other grunge bands on my own as I was diving in. So no, there's not one that really kind of like jumped out at me like that. To a point you were making earlier, Russ, I did look up the numbers. This is what I do on PodAskew. So I did get those numbers for you on Super Unknown versus Never. If you want them. Super Unknown is 9 million copies worldwide. Nevermind is 30 million copies worldwide.
Holy
Damn.
shit.
Wow.
Difference between the two.
Hell yeah.
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 And Thriller is still 3 times as many as Nevermind. But
Yeah, see, so I think that the part of that is the allure of the mystery of what happened with Nirvana is what keeps people interested in them.
We'll get into that in a little bit. Yeah.
Nobody else has like a crazy fucking weird backstory that like, you know, this could have happened, that could have happened.
Well, now my argument against that would be though that Chains has an extremely similar story. And
that's true.
I mean, I remember the difference between when Kurt passed and it was reported and when Lane passed and it was recorded. The world stopped when Kurt passed, and people literally would just be like, "Oh, did you hear the guy from Alice in Chains died?"
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? It was a totally different thing. So I just think that more people were interested in the Nirvana aspect, and also Kurt was very much the faceplate of grunge.
Yeah.
I also didn't realize this till later in life, but back in the day, like I didn't know what music genres were. I just listened to everything that I liked.
Sure. Yep.
And then when I would say like, I listened to Nirvana, and people would go, "Oh, I don't like grunge." I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know what grunge is, but I like Nirvana. So
like, I don't consider myself a disco fan, but there's disco songs that I like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fucking Bee Gees.
Yeah, the Bee Gees, the Bee Gees are fantastic, young lady. Just because you don't get the Barry Gibb talk show doesn't mean that the rest of us can't enjoy it.
That's all right, Russ. Just make her watch that Bee Gees documentary. It's going to be to HBO in like 2 weeks. She'll be fine.
I am excited for that.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be sick that day.
Let's move through some favorites. Do you guys have? Let's start with Michelle. Let's start with Michelle, because I hope you were able to narrow this down. Do you have a favorite grunge band?
If I had to pick one, I would actually pick Pearl Jam.
Oh wow!
Actually, when I can tell the difference,
sure. Sure.
I do think I like Pearl Jam.
I think you like a lot more Pearl Jam than you think you do.
I think I don't know that a lot of songs are Pearl Jam.
Oh boy,
we're gonna find out one week that our whole Jamie Jams playlist could be like 30 Pearl Jam songs long, because there's a ton of music right now that Michelle loves that
it's
she
like
just
that
didn't
monkey
know.
song. Like, you don't know it's the Pearl Jam.
Yeah, exactly. CJ, what do you got? Well, who would you say your favorite grunge artist is?
Hands down, without question, Alice in Chains.
Oh yeah, yep. Go on. All I'm going to do is agree with you, because it's mine too. Go on.
They're just the best. They're honestly, and I'm probably starting fighting words because it usually does when I say this, but I think Alice in Chains by far is the best band to come out of that entire sound. That entire grunge era sound, whatever you want to call it, leaps and bounds. Alice in Chains is the best band in that whole mix.
I would make some sort of argument for Pearl Jam, but I wouldn't argue too hard against you. I think Chains is a brilliant band. I think I would go so far as to call Alice in Chains severely underrated.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about Pearl Jam, Russ, see, Pearl Jam's probably the most popular band to come out of that, and only because Nirvana technically had to stop for obvious reasons. You know, Pearl Jam's probably the most popular, but from a talent perspective, collective talent, because there are other artists in this discussion that might have better talent. Like Chris Cornell's a phenomenal singer, but as to me, Soundgarden's just okay. But you get Alice in Chains, and they can do so many different styles within the grunge window, I guess is the word you want to use.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about it a little bit. You go from like Wood to Heaven Beside You, and you don't even know it's the same band,
right?
You know, but it is, and it's so vastly different in a good way. I don't know, but that's the diversity of Alice in Chains that makes them that good for me.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with everything CJ said about Chains. And another thing about Chains is a lot of times when you get a band where the guitarist writes the lyrics, the lead singer sometimes won't express it the way that you would expect the song to be expressed. And I'll give you an example. You take Oasis. Noel writes all the Oasis lyrics. So if you listen to a song like Cast No Shadow or The Master Plan or Live Forever by Oasis, and you listen to the way that Liam delivers those lyrics, he's literally just reading words on a page, like that don't mean anything to
It's different.
If you listen to any Oasis performance where Noel is singing, he sings The Master Plan or Cast No Shadow like the guy who wrote it. Okay?
Yep.
Now you take Chains. Cantrell wrote Rooster about his grandfather's experience in Vietnam. And
oh, God, that's a great song.
To the average person, you would have no idea that Lane Staley's didn't write that about personal experience to him.
Yeah.
Because he sings that song like he goddamn means it. You know?
I thought it was Korea, Russ. I'm not trying to argue with you, but I thought it was about Korea, not Vietnam.
Korea, sure. It's more the overall point that I was going for, of the difference between how a band like that works. And a lot of times when the lead singer didn't write the lyrics, they don't express it that way. And every single Alice in Chains song Lane Staley sings like he absolutely means every word. And that's a huge difference, I think. Kurt didn't even allow the other guys to bring in songs, but like I feel like if Dave would have brought like Times Like These or Big Me, I'm trying to work from the earlier Foo Fighters stuff. If he would have brought stuff like that, I think it would have sounded like Kurt just phoned it in because he didn't write it. Right. You know what I mean? He has no vested in it, you know? What is your favorite of all of the grunge bands, Kyle?
It's a tie. You guys almost just sold me on Alice in Chains.
Ooh.
But
did I sell you?
But what about Pearl Jam, though? Because Michelle kind of thinks she likes some songs by them. I just want to be clear. You just had two extremely well thought out arguments for Alice in Chains, and then versus I think some of the songs I like by the band.
I also got to experience the very unenthusiastic looks on her face when we went to go see all the Pearl Jam stuff when we were in Seattle.
You asked me to pick one.
Having said all of that, Kyle,
it's a tie between Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, but based on Eddie Vedder and Chris Cornell. Yeah, and I totally agree with everything you guys are saying about Alice in Chains.
Did you lose your mind when Temple of the Dog happened and they were in the same band for a minute?
Yes, and it's that I don't know how to explain why I would choose them over Alice in Chains, because I agree with everything that you guys are saying about Alice in Chains.
Well, it's not. I mean, we talk about this a lot at Music Night. It's splitting the finest of hairs. Like I'm glad to have those hairs to split. Like these bands that are so good that you're just not like, oh well, it's clear that this is way better than the other.
Right.
He did poop himself in the Mopop Museum when he saw all the Pearl Jam stuff. So
I'm not being funny, for real.
I mean, I did not check his underwear.
It's one of the closest instances I've had of getting an actual musical boner. when I was
kicked out.
Being able to see Eddie Vedder's notebook with all like the stuff written in it and just all this stuff, and I equally got as excited because they have all these like pictures that you've never seen of Nirvana and stuff there.
Right, yeah.
And like just to see like these normal ass guys that like just happen to become this huge band, like it was just so damn cool.
That's a major difference between the scene that was around right before grunge and what like grunge. The scene that was around before grunge was all heavily marketed, heavily researched. You know, like these guys had a certain look. They were all meant like for every quote unquote hair metal band you saw, there was tons of boardroom meetings about how to present this, and then all of a sudden here comes guys in like cons and flannels that were just like, here's 3 chords, you know. Like there was no marketing behind it when it broke, you know. So we'll stay on you and go to the next question. Do you have a favorite grunge album? Michelle, we'll pass you on this one. For me, it's a 2-way tie between Down on the Upside by Soundgarden, which is crazy because they're not even close to my favorite grunge band, or In Utero by Nirvana, which I think is a masterpiece. I think In Utero by Nirvana
In Utero is fantastic.
It is so good. And what's funny is neither of those bands are my favorite grunge band.
Yeah.
But they put together what I feel are 2 of the best grunge records.
I know earlier that you said you really did not like Super Unknown, but I really do.
No, everyone does but me.
Yeah, and
everyone does but me and CJ.
Super Unknown, Down on the Upside. I definitely think if I had to choose a favorite grunge album, it's Soundgarden.
Bad Motorfinger's great too, though.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
The first major label Soundgarden record, Bad Motorfinger.
That's not what I thought you said.
What?
Sweet. CJ, what do you got? I'm going to assume it's going to be a Chains record, but then again, you might have assumed mine was going to be a Chains record, and it wasn't. So what do you think your favorite grunge record is?
I came into this because, you know, you sent me these questions to be prepared, and I came into it prepared to say Jar of Flies, but then you mentioned In Utero, and I was like, oh. So
I think In Utero is a masterpiece.
It is.
Really is good. And I mean, I'll be honest, and maybe this is a bit different discussion for a different day, Russ, but I actually really like that Bleach album. I know you weren't a fan when you saw them live, but like I actually like that Bleach album quite a bit.
I don't hate the record. The show was terrible. So I don't love it. I think it's the 3rd best Nirvana record.
I will say that I don't think that the Soundgarden albums that I chose, I don't think that they're masterpieces, but I do think that In Utero is a masterpiece.
Just at the sake of being different, I'm going to go Jar of Flies, but I'm not far behind you on In Utero there, Russ, at all.
And Jar of Flies is a masterpiece as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't really. I can't really argue with that.
Right.
Yeah. Michelle, just so you know, that's a Alice in Chains record. Just so you know. So this next topic this next question we don't have to go in depth on, but early April 1994, the world did stop when Kurt Cobain passed away, and just as a general discussion point, like that's pretty much where grunge died, right? Like, I mean, like the genre carried on to some extent, but I feel like the whole scene died. There
would have been, in my personal opinion, there would have been a bunch of bands that we've never heard of if Nirvana continued.
Yeah,
because that's what everyone looked to it as inspiration in that genre. Mm-hmm. So if everyone wanted to be like Kurt Cobain. And when he was no more, then they were just kind of like, there's no point in doing this.
And my argument for it is I equate the mid-'90s very much to the end of the 60s as far as the music scene goes. 67 was the Summer of Love, and we had Woodstock, and all those great things happened in the counterculture. But then the race riots were insane around the U.S. at the time. You had the deaths happen at the Rolling Stones Altamont concerts, the Manson killings, like everything just shut down that whole counterculture, Summer of Love vibe that was going. And I feel like 91, 92, 93, January to April of 94, that whole grunge counterculture thing was happening. And then as soon as news broke about Kurt passing, the whole thing just stopped.
Do you think they would have went on for like a long time, or do you think they were just like
that's a discussion for another episode? But
okay.
I will say, let me just drop this as the controversy.
Yeah.
I personally think that Nirvana was a spent force creatively. I don't believe Nirvana had much more in them. But that's just me.
But it could be something we talked about how little time the Beatles were actually together, and even though they did a lot of records, but they still affect today.
But the Beatles put out four times as many records.
But that doesn't mean that
around.
Quantity over quality, man.
You're telling me that
quality.
You're telling me that the Beatles didn't have quality tunes?
Some of them are not quality.
Oh boy. Anyways, CJ, how do you feel about this? Do you agree with that, or do you think that just because Kurt passed doesn't mean the whole movement stopped? What's your take on it?
I actually disagree. I feel like it thrived despite Kirk's death. It just didn't. It maybe not have been as mainstream, but you have a lot of bands that kept going. And to Kyle's point, that were very inspired by Kurt and wanting to be, potentially maybe trying to be the next Kurt, not succeeding by a long shot. But you had a lot of bands that kept putting out, like Chains put out several albums after Kurt died and were successful. Pearl Jam's still putting out albums. I would argue their sound is no longer grunge, but that's a different discussion altogether.
I don't mean that they were like, all right, everybody out of the pool.
We're done here.
I mean the whole movement, like the vibe that was around in 91, 92, 93 was like, I'm different. No one understood me before. Now everyone understands me. And I feel like everyone was disbanded. The culture was disbanded when Kurt passed.
No, I feel like it's still hung around. It may not have been as I hate the word to use the word emo, because emo ended up being like mid 2000s. But that's
now we're talking Michelle.
My ears perked up.
There you go. You have that because nothing really changed. And maybe I'm misremembering or not just remembering at all. But like to me, there wasn't another real music flux change until you get to nu metal, which is like 98, 97, 98, maybe late 96. But,
CJ, how old are you, if I can ask?
No, it's fine. I'm 40.
Okay. So I was just thinking that you and Russ probably have a very different perspective, because like when Kyle and I in the early 90s, we were, young, less than 10. So like for us, by the time we got up to, and we found out what Nirvana was and grunge was, it was already over. But I feel like I still remember that still being kind of a movement. I feel like people still were into it when I was in high school. Like it was, people were wearing flannel and, listening to Nirvana and whatever. But I can see how in the moment you could see how it just kind of ends.
I feel like from a music movement standpoint, I feel like Kurt's passing really opened the door for all of the R&B that we heard in the late 90s and the Spice Girls and all that stuff, like Britney and NSYNC and all that. I feel like the door was kicked wide open because of what you were saying, Kyle, about like there might have been newer grunge artists and whatnot that like were still springing up. But I feel like Kurt's passing put a damper on that, and then that opened the door for everything else, because pretty much from 95 on, it's all P. Diddy
sunshine and rainbows.
And everything else, which again, we went through five or so years of everything being glitz and glam, and then we went through 5 years of the exact opposite,
Right.
and then I feel like we went through 5 years of like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
What I want to close us out with, because this is about as long of a discussion as I thought it was going to be, is, and I don't say this to be funny. I know a lot of times on the show we Michelle didn't know that, but like I said, no one thinks of Hendrix as a Seattle artist, but he's absolutely, he's a Seattle son. He's from Seattle, and that's where he made his way, and all the way up till he finally broke overseas. But then he brought the whole thing back here. Heart, no one ever thinks of them as a Seattle band. Queensryche, they don't even have a home. Like, no one thinks of them as an LA band, even though like they broke with that era, and nobody recognizes them as the Seattle band. So Queensryche is just kind of floating out there,
just there.
But as far as how people look at Seattle, I think am I wrong? Every person, when you mention Seattle, the first word that comes into their head is going to be grunge, right?
Or Starbucks.
Let's pretend that we were on a music podcast and not a coffee podcast.
Yeah, they're not paying us to say that. Don't say that.
CJ, how do you feel about that? When you're talking about music and someone says, let's talk about Seattle, what do you think you're going to talk about? Grunge or something else?
No, you're right. I mean, I know we're on a music podcast, but if I'm going to be honest, the other thing is the fish market, because that seems to come up every time anyone says Seattle too. But to your point about, it's grunge music, and to your point about some bands not even having a home, like Queensryche not really having a home, I honestly feel like, though I think they're based out of L.A. or Northern California, Stone Temple Pilots deserves to be part of that discussion, and is very much a grunge band as well. So, but
I used to have a friend of mine in the 90s that was totally that guy with SDP. Like, if somebody was like, I'm into grunge, I like Nirvana and SDP or what, he'd be like, they are not from Seattle. Like, go calm down. Yeah, I don't think SDP needs you on their street team to like make sure that, but it's funny that you mentioned that, because you and one other person I know always recognize them as a Northern California band, and everybody else throws them in with Seattle. But they absolutely are the grunge sound for sure.
They totally sound like that.
I mean, in my younger years, I thought they were from Seattle, and then as I got older and more knowledgeable, then I was like, oh, okay, they're from Northern California. But that, regardless, like they fit the bit. To your question, I think if you think Seattle, you think music, you think for the most part grunge. I mean, to your point, you have, you do have Jimmy, and you got Queensryche and Heart, but I mean, as a whole, that Seattle and grunge are synonymous probably forever, I think, at this point.
Yeah, at least as much as disco is New York, is Motown is Detroit.
I was going to say, it's fascinating to me that there are just like, there's certain pockets of cities where certain genres came from and are known for like putting on certain artists and whatnot. Like, there's Nashville, Detroit, Seattle, all of those. Like, it's just fascinating to me that like there's just certain places where this certain sound comes from, and until it spreads all over the place.
I mean, blues out of Chicago, jazz out of New Orleans. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just fascinating that
and it's funny. It's a much deeper discussion for another time. But it's like, what does the area make the sound, or does the sound make the area? Did people come out of Detroit singing upbeat songs in the 60s that ended up in the Motown sound as a result of their environment, or did they sing those songs and then it created the environment in Detroit? You know what I mean? And vice, the same thing with jazz. Like, was it where they beat down in, New Orleans and needed a sound that uplifted them, or did they come up with that and then realize like, oh, we've got it kind of rough? You know what I mean? Like, and it's the same thing with Seattle. Like, you look at Seattle and it's all gloom. It's all. I've seen Grey's Anatomy. I know.
I was going to say, when we went there, I could almost feel and see where they were coming from when they made those songs and wrote those lyrics and whatnot. Like, it's a whole different feeling that you get when you go there.
Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with here.
Yeah,
we're blessed with that, and we've talked about that dozens of times on the show. You can go downtown Detroit and you can feel the Temptations. You can feel the Tops. You can feel the Spinners. You know what I mean? Like, you can feel that when you go downtown. And I personally, I've only passed through Seattle for like business and stuff, but as soon as you touch down at the airport, well, first of all, you get Duff McKagan's terrible voice at the airport. Welcome to Seattle. I can barely speak English because I have some Guns N' Roses.
Is that why he can't speak English?
Make it to your gate. Oh no, well, he did a lot of drugs because he was in Guns N' Roses. Ergo,
and now he can't speak English.
Correct. So
I remember texting you when I was in the airport, and I was like, "There's a GNR guy talking to me from the ceiling."
and I was like, "Yeah, it's because he's from there."
The same thing.
Speaking of which, you know how I am. I'll forget if I don't say this. Duff McKagan was the last person to see Kurt Cobain alive, and a lot of people don't know that because Kurt got out of rehab in L.A. and was flying home to Seattle to, we know the end of that.
Yeah.
And Duff happened to be on the flight seated next to him because Duff was going home to Seattle from when he left GNR. He literally had left GNR and was like, F this, I'm going home to Seattle. And they talked all the way there because their bands famously had a feud. They talked all the way there, according to Duff, obviously, because we only have his side of it. But Duff was like, they talked the whole way there about isn't that a bunch of bullshit? And we always loved your band and you loved ours or whatever. And they hugged each other at the airport. And it's by all accounts, Duff was the last person to see.
I heard a very similar story. I was just watching a Slash documentary on YouTube, and he said something similar, just like that. Yeah. That Duff was the last person to see him alive or whatever, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, CJ. Do you have another point?
Yeah, just real quick, because you talk about the different sounds in different areas. I have to mention, just being from so close to the area, even though I'm technically Jersey, is the Philadelphia Soul Sound.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
With, the OJs and all them. I mean, so and to a lesser extent, but you still have Hall & Oates, which I feel has that soul.
I would make a huge argument for Hall & Oates.
I'm with you, but I was afraid I was in a minority. So
no, let's put it this way: when Questlove inducts you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you count as Philly Soul.
So, but anyway, I just had to bring that up since we're talking about the different areas like Detroit and Seattle and whatever. I think Philly gets overlooked quite a bit.
CJ claiming Philly because he's from New Jersey. So he's, but they got Springsteen, Jovi, and Sinatra.
Yeah.
So
you can. You can ask Michelle. The one thing that I wanted to do while we were in New Orleans was go on to Frenchman Street and listen to. Well, I didn't know that that's where you could find it at because we didn't find that out till later. But all I wanted to hear was the jazz that sounded like it came from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And goddamn, was it amazing when we went down there. I was just looking like a crazy person taking video of just all the jazz clubs. You could just hear all the music.
And if you ever want an authentic New Jersey experience, we can go and watch CJ's Bon Jovi tribute band, which he is the singer of.
There you go.
CJ, are you cool with me telling everybody that? I don't know if that's common knowledge that you're the lead singer of a Bon Jovi tribute band.
It's news to me.
That's great.
So,
you are now.
CJ is in fact not the lead singer of a Bon Jovi cover band, but he does co-host and do a great job with the PodAskew podcast, which is on the Odd Pods Network, which we are as well. So not only do you get us, but you get his show. CJ, I feel like we could absolutely do a few more hours on this, but we are going to knock off the Seattle and grunge discussion for now. Thanks so much for coming on with us, brother.
Yes, thank you. It's been fun.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you. And you know what?
Appreciate it.
Oh, no worries, Scott. Thank you, Michelle, as well. I mean, I'll tell you, I said to Russ prior to the show, I was very intimidated walking into this den. I'm not even going to lie because I listened to you guys and I'm like, I can't hold a candle to these people. But no, I had a great time and thank you so much for being as welcoming as you have been, really. So thank you.
We try.
Yeah, well, no, hold on. Kyle and I try.
Some of us try.
Yeah.
Russ told me to be on my best behavior. So.
I was just excited to have a third person to discuss grunge with because I knew Michelle was the whole time was going to be like, what? But I feel, again, I'm not being funny with this. I feel like you learned a lot during this too.
I did.
So, which is cool. I mean, not that you're going to put any of it into practice.
In one ear, not the other.
Yeah.
Right. Next week, we have a fun one lined up. As of right now, we don't have any guests or anything. I think it's going to be the three of us, but it's going to be fun. We're going to talk about motivational music, stuff like, when you want to be mad, what you put on, and or when you want to go work out, what you want to put on, and that type of stuff. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Make sure to go to manscaped.com, use our code IGP20, and get yourself that discount. And
get yourself them good balls.
Would you just fix your balls? Without music, life would be a mistake. Bye.
The Infectious Groove podcast is hosted by Russ Robinson, Kyle Wimple, and Michelle Koselecki. Produced and edited by Russ Robinson. Intro and outro music composed by Chris Kimmel. Opening credits read by Stacey Robinson. Recorded with a Rode Podcaster Pro and Rode Pod mics.